I know exactly how you felt when you were in that house at Oakdale and Molly Sherwood was after you.
Reagan, listen, the only thing I really don't understand is why? Well, why was this guy after you? I mean, wasn't he just the, God, no, this may sound crass, but just the regular garden variety type burglar?
Oh, well, that's what he started out as, but then Geraldine showed up at the door and he had to hit her over the head, and I think he thought he killed her.
I think that's the part that shocks me the most, that Geraldine was hurt.
Well, obviously she wasn't hurt as badly as he thought. Because I think he thought that since he killed one person, he might as well kill two.
Do you think he felt he had to kill you so you couldn't identify him?
And he would have, too. And then Sky showed up and shot him. And I think I need some more wine.
Oh, wait, let me get it for you.
Nope. Stay right where you are, little mother. I can do it.
Oh.
The person I actually feel sorry for is Sky, though, because, you know, he can't believe he actually killed somebody. I think he deserves a medal. But all the police want to do is ask him questions.
That's only to be expected.
You know, the thing that I remember the most is when he stood there in the doorway with that shotgun in his arm. He looked like some kind of an avenging angel.
An avenging angel with a double-barrel shotgun, huh?
Oof, but you know, he knew there was something wrong in the house. He sensed it. Doesn't that tell you something?
What, he's got ESP or something?
Something. I think maybe we're soulmates. He knew that there was something wrong in the house, and he came back. And that makes me feel wonderful.
You know, you look pretty good, too. No, I mean, well, you look sort of radiant.
Oh, well, I'm a little high.
No, come on. I mean, after that awful experience last night.
Oh, but that's what I'm trying to say was exciting. Because it proved to me that Sky was more than I thought. I mean, he's much different than the man I thought I married.
Mr. Whitney, I see you finally got your little private room all locked up without my help. Nobody will know your little secrets now, huh? Is that what happened to Raven? Did she learn your secrets? Is that why your brand new wife had to die? Well, now let's just find out what you're hiding inside this room, Mr. Whitney. It's empty. Everything is gone.
All right, Gunther. Just what do you think you're doing?
Up here and change that lock, Mr. Whitney. I didn't think you want that ugly old padlock there.
If I wanted the lock changed, I would have asked you to change it, Gunther.
Well, you know me, Mr. Whitney. I like to do things without you telling me. That's called, taking the initiative.
Sometimes you take too much initiative, Gunther.
I want to earn my money, you know.
If you're so interested in the padlock, what were you doing inside there?
Oh, I thought I'd just clean it up a little bit.
That looks quite neat to me.
Yes, sir. It sure looks neat. Whatever happened to all that stuff, if you don't mind my asking?
I do mind. Now, please leave.
What about the lock, Mr. Whitney?
Don't worry about it. There isn't going to be any lock.
What do you mean?
Well, it's my study, Gunther. It's not a secret hiding place. The only reason I had it locked up before was, because things were so disorganized inside. Now things are very organized.
So, no lock, huh?
I'm glad that you understand. Now, I'm going to take a little nap. Don't disturb me unless it's, unavoidable.
Yes, sir. Oh, any particular time you want me to wake you, sir?
Yes. Wake me in about an hour.
Yes, sir. Your lordship. What did he do with all that stuff?
You're back sooner than I expected.
Yeah. I came straight from the TV studio.
How'd the interview go?
There wasn't any interview.
Why not? They changed the schedule or something?
Yes. Schedule's been changed. Especially my schedule.
What are you talking about?
I'm not opening next week. I'm not going out on that stage or any other stage until I'm ready for it.
Is it definite now? You sure this is what you want to do?
Yes. This time, I really mean it. And it doesn't matter if Sky Whitney is furious. It doesn't matter if I disappoint some people. I can't lie to myself anymore. I'm a good dancer. I know I am. But I'm not a great dancer. And I'm not worthy of getting up in front of all those other good dancers and pretending I'm better than they are.
And you don't think of yourself as a quitter now? Jody?
I'm trying to be honest, right? I am a quitter.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
No, that doesn't mean that there aren't times when it isn't right to quit. And I've reached my time.
Jody, this job was forced down your throat by Sky Whitney. He didn't care if you couldn't handle the load. He couldn't care less if it killed you.
Well, that's just about what it was doing. Killing me. You know, I think by the time I got out on that stage, the only role I could play would be the dying swan.
Oh, come here. Come here. It's gonna be all right.
Gavin, I'm never going to get another chance like this.
Sure you are. Sure you are. You'll get your chance, and without all this pressure.
No, I won't. Sky won't let me dance in the chorus. I know he won't.
No, he'll never do that. His famous pride won't allow it. He's paid too much money to introduce you as the dynamic new star.
He's going to be very angry.
Yeah? He's going to try to change your mind again, just like last time.
Well, he can't. It's too late.
You're darn right, and you're not going to do this by yourself.
I can't let you do it for me. I told you that once.
And you failed once, too, remember? He put his arm around you and sweet-talked you. Then he threatened me to make sure that I wouldn't encourage you.
What did you say?
Nothing. The point is that you just have to do it right
Did you
this
say
time.
Whitney threatened you?
Jody, no, it's just words. That's
Just words? Was it just words when he sent Gunther and those men to break your leg?
Forget it, Jody, huh? All he did was try to bluff me. I'm not afraid of him.
Well, I am. I'm afraid of him and I'm afraid of Gunther.
Well, the police are keeping their eye on Gunther. You can be sure of that. And he's not going to dare try anything overt. I promise you. The only thing we have to be afraid of is keeping our nerve. We've got to stick up for what we believe.
Do you believe in me?
Oh, of course I do. You know I do. As a person and a performer. You're a great dancer. You'll be even greater.
Why is it you always make me feel so much better?
I'm going with you, Jody.
No, it's all right. I can handle this. I really think I can.
All right. Just be careful.
Even after that nightmare of last night, I'm so happy.
I can tell. Obviously, Sky made quite an impression on you last night, Raven. I just hope it isn't because... Well, it isn't because he shot a man.
Well, let's face it.
Not every woman has a man who will kill for her.
Well, that's true enough.
But that's not really it. I'm just discovering what a deep and complex person my husband is.
Now, did you make this discovery in one night?
You might say that.
Yeah? Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
What?
Mrs. Timmons baked a cake.
Oh.
I think she made it just especially for you, so that if I don't offer it to you, she'll be very hurt. If you'll excuse me, I'll be right back.
Of course.
It wasn't easy for me to give up this face and take on Sky's. I remember the first time that I saw it.
Where?
Switzerland. Sky was there for 3 months. He was killing time. We had a lot in common. We were the same age, same height, same approximate build. We both loved to ski. Yeah. See, he really was a millionaire many times over, but Jeff Brown was a pauper.
So you became his friend?
He had 3 months to spend there before this enormous inheritance came into his lap. He told me about it the first day that we met. About all the money that was waiting for him back here in the States. Not that he was hurting for funds at the time. I mean, his monthly allowance allowed him to... He could have rented the whole chateau. Jeff Brown couldn't even afford a little room.
Can I tempt you?
Yes.
Mrs. Timmons would be very hurt if you didn't have any.
Thank you.
I just hope it's not too rich for you.
Nothing is too rich for me. You ought to know that.
She's doing real well, as a matter of fact. There's no reason she can't go home tomorrow. Not that I could
great.
stop her if I tried.
Oh, that sounds like Geraldine, all right.
The concussion's no longer a problem. I'm just a little worried because she's so weak, and I hate to think of her all alone in that hotel suite.
Well, why don't you just hire a nurse or something?
Geraldine, hire a nurse? My Lord, the thought of any kind of a paid companion, even a nurse, would just insult her pride.
Well, at least we could invite her over to our house, only where would we put her?
Well, what? She could scrunch up on that little Victorian sofa we have in the
great.
living room. Wouldn't that be nice?
Somehow I can't quite see Geraldine sleeping on our living room sofa. As a matter of fact, I can't see Geraldine sleeping anywhere except in a queen-size bed full of canopies and 4 posters.
Yes, she does give that impression, doesn't she?
Yes. You know, it is getting to be a problem.
What?
I never realized until lately how small our house actually is.
Well, we didn't count on having a live-in sister when we bought the place, did we?
No. And now Adam's getting to the age where he would love to have his little friends over, only where are they going to
We
sleep?
can put them up in the attic in a trundle bed.
Miles, we can't
They're
keep
just
doing that.
children, why not?
Then there's the dog.
Well, you see, that's the problem. Muffin takes up most of the space in the
Now,
whole
Miles,
house.
it's true. We're getting overcrowded. I mean, think of all those nights that we couldn't have Mrs. Goodman stay over.
Yes, I rather enjoyed that. I think I'm getting your message.
Am I making myself
I think you
obvious
are,
enough?
yes. Well, listen, it's not as if I hadn't thought of it myself. I think you're right. I think we need some kind of a change, especially now that we're talking about a possible addition to the family.
Miles, I don't think that should be a factor.
Why not?
I think you know why not. You don't really believe that there's going to be an addition to the family, do you?
Can't rule that out, can we?
Oh, Miles. I went to talk to the obstetrician the other day, and I finally asked him for the first time if he thought it was going to be possible for me to ever have another child.
What do you say?
Well, he didn't say it in so many words, but that radiation treatment that I had, I just don't think it's going to be possible for me to ever conceive again.
There's nothing definite about that.
No, but there's a very high probability of it, and I think you know that too. There's just never going to be a little brother or sister for Adam, and I guess I'm just going to have to reconcile myself to that fact.
Can you do that?
I mean, look what I got. I'm blessed, I know that. It's wrong for me to complain, and it's wrong for me to push for a house because of a baby that I'm never going to have.
Never mind about the baby. We are going to get a new place. You know what? We'll start looking right away, okay?
Okay.
Well, couldn't stay away from me, huh?
I'd like to see Mr. Whitney, please.
Well, come on in. I'm afraid that Mr. Whitney is not available at the moment.
I happen to know that he's home. I called earlier and spoke to the maid.
Well, I didn't say he wasn't home, honey. Only that he's indisposed.
And just what does that mean?
Oh, he's taking a nap.
Oh, well then I'll come back later.
Well, relax, honey. He'll be downstairs in just a few minutes.
I'd still prefer to come back later.
Well, I would prefer that you stay. See, I'm getting a little bored with myself. It's nice to have company.
I didn't come to keep you company. And I warn you, Gunther, if you make the slightest move towards me or say anything I don't like, I'm going to scream this house down and make sure you're fired from this nice job.
Well, what makes you think that I would do anything so foolish? Don't you realize that I was just joking with you those other times? It was simply a misunderstanding, Jody.
It's Miss Travis to you.
Yes, of course, Miss Travis. See, I was only fooling around, that's all. I didn't mean you any harm.
You know, you're lucky. Very lucky I didn't call the police about you, Gunther, the night that you picked me up in Mr. Whitney's car.
Well, yes, I admit that I did get a little carried away with myself. But you see, I had had a little bit too much to drink. But don't worry. Because you see, these days, I'm only drinking coffee. Can I give you some?
No, thank you.
You know, I'm very sad about that night. I only wish there was some way that I could make it up to you. Say, you know what? I'll bet you like concerts and stuff like that, don't you?
Please. Look, I'm getting tired of waiting. I'll come back later.
Hey, you know what? Mr. Whitney, sometimes he gives me free passes to concerts, operas, plays. Hey, listen. Won't you please let me take you to something some night?
No. Would you please get out of my way?
Well, you are really something, aren't you, Miss Travis? What can I do to get through to you, huh? I try it rough, now I try it smooth, and you don't bend even just a little bit. How can I get you to like me, huh?
There's no way, Gunther.
No, there isn't, huh? Oh, you know, you would be so surprised at how many ways there are in
I told
this
you, if you
world.
come any closer, I'll scream, I swear!
Well, go ahead and scream, Miss Travis. It's time for Mr. Whitney got up.
Gunther! Gunther! What do you think you're doing?
That's the second time you've asked me that question, Mr. Whitney. You're starting to sound like a broken
Would you
record.
tell him to let me go?
Take your hands off her!
I mean,
Did you know that this little girl likes to be called Miss Travis?
Let go of her, Gunther.
Okay, boss. Now look what you just went and done, Mr. Whitney. You scared her off.
No, are you going crazy, Gunther, or what?
Oh, don't worry, Mr. Whitney. It was just a little friendly fooling around, huh?
Gunther, I told you to stay away from that girl, and now I come down here and I find you in my own house. I ought to fire you for that.
Nah, you wouldn't fire me, Mr. Whitney. You need me too much. I mean, let's face it. Who would drive you around in your car, mix your drinks for you, beat people up for you? Speaking of drinks, you know, this coffee is really not doing too much for me.
Put that down.
Well, you're sure in the mood for giving orders, aren't you?
I told you to put that decanter down. That's my best whiskey, Gunther.
Well, now, you certainly would like for me to have the best, wouldn't you, Mr. Whitney?
All right, that's it. You're fired. Get your stuff and get out of here. Inside of an hour, and if you are not gone inside of an hour, I will arrange to have you thrown out.
Oh, this is so good. And I just would love to drink this stuff all the time.
Did you hear what I said? I said get out!
No, I'm not, and I can't go. You see, Mr. Whitney, Mrs. Whitney, she wouldn't like it.
Mrs. Whitney would be delighted to have you disappear.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that Mrs. Whitney would not like the truth.
What truth?
About what happened here last night. You see, I think it would come as a terrible shock for Mrs. Whitney to find out that you hired the man to kill her. This little girl likes to be called Miss Travis, don't you know?
Would you tell him to let go of me?
I said let her go!
All right, boss, anything you say. Oh, now look what you did, Mr. Whitney. You scared her off.
I swear, Gunther, you really have lost your mind.
Well, don't worry about it, Mr. Whitney. It was just a little bit of friendly fooling around, that's all.
I told you never to bother that girl again, and I come down and I find you in my own house. I ought to fire you for that.
Nah, you won't fire me, Mr. Whitney. You need me too much. Let's face it. Who would drive you around all day in your car, mix your drinks for you, beat people up for you? Speaking of drinks, this coffee is not doing too much for me.
Put that down.
Well, you're sure in the mood for giving orders, aren't you?
Did you hear what I said? I said put down that decanter. That's my best whiskey.
Well, don't you want me to have the best, don't you?
All right, Gunther, that's it. You're fired. You just pack your stuff and get out of here in an hour, and if you're not out in an hour, I'll arrange to have you thrown out.
Now, this is sure good whiskey. You know, I would love to drink this stuff all the time.
Did you hear what I said? I said get out!
Yeah, well, I can't go. And you know why, Mr. Whitney? Because Mrs. Whitney would not like it.
Mrs. Whitney would be delighted if you disappeared.
Oh, well, that's not what I mean. What I meant was Mrs. Whitney would not like to hear the truth.
What truth?
About what happened here last night? No, I think it would come as a terrible shock to her to find out that you hired that man to kill her.
Now I know you're insane.
Yeah, I should have known that that quick little trip to Chicago was a phony. Because you always let me handle all of your business appointments, only this one time, you handled it yourself.
Came up in the last minute. That's the reason I handled it myself.
No, Mr. Whitney, no. This was no last-minute details. No, you've been working on this for some time to get both of us out of the house and to get Chrissy out, too.
The only one I want out of this house is you. Permanently.
There was no business appointment, was there? Save your breath. I already called him. What's his name? Weston? The manager of your Chicago office? Nah, he told me that he didn't have an appointment with you. He said he had no idea that you were even coming.
I didn't make the appointment with Weston. I made it with someone else.
No, there was an appointment, all right. Right here, between Mrs. Whitney and Romeo Slade. And I know all about Slade. Not only do they call him Romeo, but they also call him a lady killer. He's no housebreaker. No, that's not his specialty. But you know what his specialty is, or was.
Right. That's it, Gunther. You won't leave under your own power, I'll have the police throw you.
Well, I got a little tip for you, Mr. Whitney. The next time you go hiring a killer, I don't think that dark glasses will be enough of a disguise. Well, don't look so scared, Mr. Whitney. Everything's going to be okay. Why don't you join me in a drink here? As you say, this sure is good whiskey.
Yeah, it's me.
You okay?
Yeah, fine. Just a long day. I'm very, very tired, you know. Had an interview at the WMON with Nicole, you know.
Oh, I forgot all about. How'd that go?
Well, actually, it didn't go at all because Nicole and I, you know, under the circumstances, decided that was a bad idea.
So it wasn't appearing in front of any TV cameras gotten you all shaken up. What happened?
Nothing. I'll be okay. Listen, I'm going to go upstairs and...
Now, wait a second. You're not going anywhere until you tell me what happened. You see, these the eyes of a trained professional now. What they see in front of them is a badly traumatized young lady. Now, you're going to tell me what happened to you.
Nothing, Mom. Honestly. Just, a little overworked, a little too much emotion, and too much...
And something else. Too much of something else. What?
Nothing. Look, I don't want to tell you because I'm afraid of what you might do.
What I might... Oh, no, wait a minute. Does this have something to do with Gunther Wagner?
I don't know what was the matter with me. I didn't even think about Gunther when I went over to the Whitney Mansion, and I certainly didn't think
You
he was
went
gonna
over
try
to the
it.
Whitney Mansion all by yourself, Jody?
Well, I wanted to talk to Skylar Whitney. I wanted to tell him that it was definite, that I wasn't going to be his dancing star, that I was going to do it. Gavin had decided, and what I thought
So
was...
you walked right into the line and said, couldn't you have even called and found out whether Sky Whitney was going to be there?
I did. And I got the maid, and she said he was there. And when I got there, he was taking a nap, and Gunther answered the door, and,
And, what?
nothing. He grabbed me, okay? And, I really don't know what would have happened unless Sky hadn't gotten there in time. But, you know, Gunther didn't even really listen to him at first because he had to keep yelling at him and telling him to leave me alone, and then...
And then what? What happened, Jody? What
nothing.
happened?
Look, I don't want to talk about it anymore, okay?
All right, don't say a word. I understand completely.
Miles, and please understand why I didn't want to tell you, okay? I don't want you to do what you did the last
Gunther
time.
didn't mind doing what he did again, did he?
Miles, you don't understand. If anything happened to you, I'd never
Nothing
forgive
is going to happen to me.
myself.
Now, I tell you what, you go on upstairs, you lie down, looking on Adam if you get a chance, all right? Now, I promise you, I'm not going to do anything reckless, but as long as Sky Whitney is at home, I think I ought to have a little talk with him. Maybe we can find out something to do to make sure that Gunther doesn't do this to you or anybody else in this town again.
I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. I knew you would react this way.
How do you expect me to react? Now, please, Jody, just trust me.
Miles, I do trust you. I'm just scared.
Not probably the day after tomorrow, Nancy, but definitely the day after tomorrow. Now, I have made that very clear to Dr. Stewart.
And I'm going to say the obvious. You should not prescribe for yourself.
Oh, my dear, I'm perfectly fine. The only real damage was to my dignity.
Oh, nothing could destroy that.
Well, I must tell you, I certainly felt a lot better when finally I opened my eyes and saw this room filled with flowers.
Oh, yes. I heard about the barrage of flowers that hit Monticello General. The floor nurse told me that every room on this floor has a bouquet originally intended for Geraldine Whitney.
These arrived this morning. They're from Kelly. That was sweet of him, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. That was very thoughtful of him. Do you know he feels somewhat responsible for your being injured?
Oh, that's nonsense. He came by to help me, and I left early, that's all.
Well, if you hadn't left early, you wouldn't have wound up here.
And if I were not here, I would probably be in a budget meeting. quite frankly, I think I prefer this.
All right.
Come in.
Ladies?
Oh,
hello, Nancy. How are you? Mrs. Saxon. These are for you.
Why, how lovely. Thank you so much.
Would you like me to see if the floor nurse has a vase for them?
Thank you, dear.
Oh, Nancy, I didn't mean to chase you away.
No, I was on my way out anyway. I'm meeting Mike for dinner. Geraldine, I'll see you when you're back at the house. Bye-bye, Calvin.
Have a good time.
Thank you. Damien, my goodness, hello.
Hello, Nancy.
Are you here to see Mrs. Saxon?
No, I really don't want to bother her. Actually, I'm off duty, and I was going to go out to dinner, but I thought I'd walk Calvin over here first to make sure Mrs. Saxon is all right.
Oh, yes, she's doing fine.
Oh, great. I'm really glad to hear that. Well, it was good to see you again. Give my regards to your husband.
All right, I'll do that. Would you, by any chance, care to join us for dinner?
I brought your statement here for you to sign. That way I don't have to disturb you when you get home.
Well, it isn't a very lengthy report, is it?
Well, no.
Not very informative either.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm sorry, Calvin, but what I've said here is all I can remember. I simply went there to spend the evening with Raven.
You've heard, I suppose, what happened to Mr. Romeo Slade.
Yes, I did. And I have no doubt that Skylar is still feeling the effects of what he did. To say nothing of Raven. Have you seen them today?
No. As a matter of fact, I really don't think it'll be necessary for the police to disturb them any further. As far as we're concerned, this case is closed.
You know, I really can't figure it out, Mr. Whitney. Why you'd want to bump off your sexy little bride so soon after the honeymoon. Was she that bad?
God only knows why I'm standing here listening to this.
Yeah, well, I know all about these things. Take my first wife, please. I mean, she was really something else. She was as sweet as sugar when anyone else was around, but bitter as poison when we were alone. You know, she wrapped herself all around my bank account. I mean, she had me put everything in her name. She walked off with a whole bundle as soon as she had a chance. You know something, Mr. Whitney? If I had known Romeo Slade then, I might have been tempted to slip him a few bucks for a first-class job myself. Only I'll bet it cost you more than just a few bucks, huh?
For your information, Gunther, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Yeah, well, you just keep saying that, Mr. Whitney. Now, take my second girl, Roxanne. We weren't married, thank God. No, I had enough sense not to give her a piece of paper. Although, that's sort of what agitated her, till I had to put her in an institution.
All right, that's it. I've listened to enough of your garbage. If you want to tell this ridiculous story to my wife, you go right ahead. She won't believe a word of it.
And what about the cops? Think I could convince them?
The cops? All right, you want to talk to the cops? Here, you talk to the cops. I'm sure that they'd be very interested in hearing about you and Jody Travis.
Hey, what happened? I've been expecting to hear from you.
Gavin,
You did go to the Whitney house, didn't you? Did you see Sky? Did you tell him you're quitting?
No, I didn't. I couldn't. Oh, Gavin.
I ought to go over there with a baseball bat and break it over his head.
Please don't talk that way. That's just what I was afraid of when I told Miles.
Miles knows them?
Yeah. The whole way home, I kept promising myself I wouldn't say anything, and I did. Anyway, he left about 10 minutes ago. He said he was going to see Sky Whitney. Gavin, I'm afraid of what he might do. I'd feel terrible if anything happened to Miles, if they got into a fight or something and he got hurt.
He'll be all right. Miles knows how to handle himself. I think I ought to go over there and stand in reinforcements.
No, that would only make things worse.
Why? I'm gonna be there to make sure Miles has help if he needs it. I'll be careful, Jody, I promise.
Having that man hurt you once by ruining your dance career. Now, please, sit down and don't make me feel twice as guilty by getting involved, too.
Jody, it's an awful lot to ask of me to just stand by and let him get away with all this.
I want you to make me a promise. I want you to swear that you'll stay away from Gunther. Do you hear me?
I can't do that.
Okay, if you don't, then, I'll never speak to you again. I mean it, I won't, never.
No, you don't. You're just very upset right now.
Please, Gavin, listen to me.
All right, look, tell you what. I'll make a bargain with you.
What kind of a bargain?
I won't do anything about Gunther if you let me handle this resignation from the Whitney Dance Company.
No, it's something I have to do myself.
Who says so? I'm your choreographer and your manager, practically. I think I can speak for you professionally, and that's what I'm asking you to let me do. Whitney is a very dangerous man. Please let me go to Sky and tell him it's all over.
No, you'll lose your job, too.
What the heck, I'm gonna lose it anyway, let's face it. I don't think I want the job if you're not gonna be in the company.
Well, if that's supposed to make me feel better.
Baby, look. It's gonna make me feel a whole lot better if I know you're safe and I'm the one dealing with Whitney. And what do you say, is it a deal?
You won't mess with Gunther?
Promise.
Well, all right then.
No, Mr. Whitney, you don't want to call the cops. You don't want them here any more than I do. They'd be too interested in hearing what I have to say. That you've been seen all around town with the same man that tried to rob you. The man that you blew away with a shotgun.
Are you claiming to have seen me with this man?
No, not personally. But I do have friends, people that I know. Would you like to know the name of the place where you met? Pretty crummy place. Exotic dancers, things like that. Romeo didn't have any taste, but then neither did you, if you don't mind my saying so.
This is just a bluff, Gunther. You just happen to have found out where this man, his Slade, has been spending his time. It doesn't mean a thing.
Well, even if I didn't see you there, Mr. Whitney, an awful lot of people did. You willing to take a chance on a police investigation? You never know what they might come up with. Some bum that saw you there with Slade, or maybe one of those exotic dancers. You never know.
Why am I listening to this drivel?
Yeah, well, it was you that told Chrissy it was okay to take the night off. It was you that set up that urgent trip to Chicago. Only, what happened, Mr. Whitney? Did you get cold feet? Is that why you hustled back here in that private jet to practically blow Romeo in half?
All right, Gunther. That's enough, damn you! I won't listen anymore.
No more orders, Mr. Whitney. From now on, things are going to be a little bit different around here. From now on, I'm giving the orders. When I say jump, you say how high. Don't worry, Mr. Whitney. We won't let the world know about our little arrangement. I'm still the good, faithful servant. Well, the good Dr. Kavanaugh, what a surprise.
It's you I want to talk to, Mr.
About what?
About what happened here tonight. Are you aware that your servant here on my list? You shut up! I'm speaking to your employer. Listen, Mr. Whitney, I'm going to have to give you a choice. Either I level a formal complaint against Gunther with all the attendant publicity, or else you do something to make sure this never happens again, such as firing him.
Firing me? That's not nice, Doc, depriving me of my
I'm talking to you, Mr. Whitney. Will you please answer me? Are you aware of what happened here?
Go ahead, Mr. Whitney. Tell him.
Yes, I was here.
And?
Jody arrived just as I was coming down the stairs. Gunther admitted her.
And what'd you see?
Well, nothing, really. Gunther may have said something offensive to her, but that's about all.
Sherry? Yes, thank you. And cognac for you. Enjoy. Thank you. Tell me, Damien, did you know Mrs. Saxon when you lived in Washington? Oh, she would have been Geraldine Whitney at that time.
No, I didn't know her myself, but I'm sure my father ran into her on several occasions. She was a very active lady in Washington social circles, so I understand.
Yes, she was. I should tell you. I know who your father was. I know what happened to him.
I know. I didn't really think that I could keep that part of my life secret for very long. In fact, I'm kind of relieved that the truth is finally out.
Well, why did you feel it was necessary to be secret?
I knew it would be helpful.
In what way?
Well, I thought it would make it easier for me. For me to do what I have to do.
Well, what is it that
you have to do? Oh, forgive the question. Reporter's instinct. I'm sorry.
As a matter of fact, that's something that I would prefer to see out of print. In fact, I would be happy never to see my father's name in print again, except for a vindication.
Well, now, I know that he was with the State Department for many years, but he wasn't a public sort of person, was he?
Well, he wasn't the kind of man who gave press interviews or sought publicity. But his job with the State Department was very important, and it certainly meant a lot to him.
I do remember the story on his suicide.
Yes. Well, there wasn't much to that, was there? A couple of lines in the press, official obituary, and after that, nothing. No, there are very few people who know the real reason my father killed himself. And, of course, far too many people who think they know the reason.
What was the reason?
My father was about to be investigated as a possible traitor to his country. He was suspected of having stolen certain vital defense strategy documents. Well, I'm sure you heard all about that.
Oh, yes, I had, but I mean, that was years ago. What, about 4 years ago? I'm sure everybody's forgotten about that by now.
I haven't forgotten. I don't use my father's name for a reason, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten it. In fact, there's another name that I will never forget.
What's that?
Jefferson Brown.